Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers over the past 7 days. Remember, if you have any questions related to your diet, your training, your workouts, supplements that you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM them to me on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. I'm always happy to answer every question I receive on the No Filter Q&A, and I do answer these questions in a chronological order. So if you've sent me a question, I promise that I will get to it. I'm posting these Q&As on a weekly basis. As a reminder, we also have an online app with a separate Q&A that we release every Tuesday evening. On that online app, if you register for it, you will receive all my nutritional plans, my training programs, and my supplement protocols that I've designed over the past 15 plus years. I also put up a weekly training program and nutritional plan for all app members to look at and to possibly follow, depending on what their goals are. But there's a training program for every muscle group. There's a nutritional plan, whether you're looking to do a keto-based diet, if you're looking to do a macronutrient rotation diet, vegan diet. I've got diets all on that program, same with training programs. So it's worth taking a look at. And if you're interested in learning more about our online training app, please feel free to email our office administrator, Mia Watson, at mia@foreverfitperformance.com, and she will send you over all the details that you need to register for that app. Anyway, let's get started on this week's No Filter Q&A with question number one. Question number one. Hi, Nick. What's the most important thing to look for on a food label, fats or carbs? Neither. When you're reading a food label, the most important thing to look at is the sugar content. Okay. So a rule of thumb I always tell my clients, if the product you are looking at contains more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, put it back on the shelf. Don't touch it. I don't care if that's even natural sugar. Don't touch it. It's not worth it. I try to keep all my female clients at about 25 grams of sugar per day, 25 to 30 grams of sugar per day, I should say, and all my male clients between 20 to 25 grams of sugar per day. So you don't want to be consuming something that contains 15, 20 grams of sugar for one serving. I mean, then you've pretty much used up all the sugar that you want to have in one day. So that's the most important thing I'd be looking at. Now, when it comes to looking at carbohydrates and fats, you have to be able to distinguish between good fats versus bad fats, simple carbohydrates versus complex carbohydrates. And that's where it comes into having a good coach at your side that can actually help steer you in the right direction when you're deciding, okay, which foods I should consume and which foods I shouldn't consume, because there is a difference, right? But for the most part, when you're reading food labels, you really should be looking at the sugar content first. Don't get obsessed with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not the enemy, especially if they're complex carbohydrates. They're going to serve your body really, really good, especially if you're doing intense weight training sessions. And as far as fats are concerned, I've talked about this before. Healthy fats are essential. We need them for our brain. So don't be scared to have a little bit of healthy fats in your diet. But again, you want to make sure these are healthy fats. I'm not talking about saturated fats. Although the body does need some saturated fats, we want to focus primarily on our good, healthy fats. So it's difficult for me to say, okay, don't have this food, but have this food. Instead, what I usually tell clients is, hey, look, if the food you're consuming contains less than 5 grams of sugar, you're a pretty safe bet it's a good food to consume. Again, you want to make sure you stay within your daily macronutrient allowance, and that will depend on your activity level, your lifestyle, multiple factors, of course. And that can often come down to working with a coach as well that can help you design a nutritional plan customized for you. But when it comes to reading food labels, the number one thing that you should be looking at is the sugar content. And just as a reminder, as a rule of thumb, this is my opinion, if it contains more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, put it back on the shelf, walk away, don't touch it. All right, next question. Hi, Nick, can you build muscle on a plant-based diet? Absolutely, you can. I work with quite a few vegetarians. I'm currently working with 2 vegans right now, 2 on my roster, and I have them on plant-based diets, and it works exceptionally well. The only thing you have to watch when you're following either a vegan or a vegetarian diet are your protein sources, because Unfortunately, most of your protein sources, unless you're consuming, well, if you're a vegetarian, you can consume egg whites. Obviously, if you're a vegan, you can't consume egg whites, but if you're a vegetarian, you can consume egg whites, so that's fine. But most of your protein sources will contain carbohydrates, beans, lentils, those type of stuff. So that's the only thing you have to watch if you're following a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. You have to be very careful with your carbs, because as most people know, if you do too many carbs, it's very difficult to lose weight, or you might add unwanted weight. So that's the only thing I would watch for. But you can definitely add muscle on a plant-based diet. I mean, myself personally, I don't consume much meat at all. I get most of my protein right now through whey isolate protein powder and egg whites. That's where the bulk of my protein comes from. Yeah, I get some protein from fish that I consume throughout the day, but most of my protein right now currently comes from whey isolate and egg whites. And there's no carbs in either of those protein sources, maybe a little bit in the whey isolate, about 2 or 3 grams of carbs per serving, but very little. But if you're following a complete vegetarian plan, for example, there's going to be some carbohydrates in your protein sources. So in that case, what I would recommend, let's say you're doing beans and lentils as your protein source, and you do, let's say, half a cup of that. I would take maybe a 1/3 of a cup of brown rice to add into that mix for your carbohydrates. Whereas if a meat eater, if they're consuming, let's say, 6-ounce or 7-ounce chicken breast, which is just pure protein, no carbohydrates whatsoever, I might give them 2/3 to 1 cup of rice. So you have to factor in, if you are a vegetarian or if you are a vegan and you are looking to build muscle on primarily a plant-based diet, you can definitely do it, but you have to factor in the fact that your protein sources are most likely going to contain carbohydrates. So you have to watch your direct carbohydrate sources, your rice, your quinoa, your sweet potatoes, your oatmeal, your yams. You just have to make sure you keep those a little bit lower, just so you can factor in the protein sources that are also going to contain carbohydrates. So that's it. But you can definitely build muscle on a plant-based diet. I think it's actually really healthy to go off meat for a few weeks to a few months for a lot of my clients as well. I recommend that, just to rotate. Don't stay on meat year round. Personally, for myself, what I'll generally do is I'll do about 4 months of fish, 4 months of chicken and turkey, and then I'll just do 4 months of a plant-based diet. So I like to actually rotate my diet throughout the year, switch things up. I find that works really well for me. So to answer that question, you can definitely build muscle on a plant-based diet. You just have to be strategic as to where you implement your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Okay, next question, number 3. Hi, Nick. Why are you working less hours in the gym these days? I tried to book with you and Mia said you don't work past 1 p.m. anymore. Okay, this is from my client, John. Yeah, he just came back into town, and I guess he's a little upset that he couldn't book with me. Okay, so here's the thing: is that I'm working on the floor these days. I'm still in the gym 7 days a week. I'm still working on the floor 7 days a week, but I've cut my hours back. I no longer work past 1 p.m. That is true. And the reason that I no longer work past 1 p.m. is because that is when I'm doing all of our online content. I'm working with a lot of our online clients. I'm putting out the Q&As. We have our online app Q&A that we put out on Tuesday evening. We put out this Q&A every Thursday evening. And our online business is growing. So my attention has been kind of put over towards the online training component for now. Another thing is that the more I work on the floor, the less I can actually work on our business as opposed to in our business, right? So by me working on the floor, the business doesn't grow. We have quite a few trainers now working with us, Charlene being one of them, and I've talked about her in the past, and Charlene's been working with a lot of my clients, and they love working with her. I mean, Charlene was working with me personally for the past 5+ years. So she knows my workouts. She was a client of mine. And now she's been working with a lot of our clients. And I have all my clients that work with her absolutely love training with her. So it's worked out really well. So I no longer work on the floor past 1 p.m. But you can catch me there. I'll be at the gym from 6 a.m. to 1. And I'm still at the gym afterwards, but I'm just in the back working on my laptop, uploading our social media content, the Q&As, all that stuff. So to work with me on the floor anymore, if you want to work with me in the afternoon or in the evening, that's not going to happen, but you can work with one of our other trainers You can work for a head trainer, Charlene, like I said, and Mia can set that up for you. So if you do want to work with me, I'm still taking on clients in-house, but those hours are between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. At the moment, my roster is completely full. But every once in a while, I do get a cancellation or someone needs to reschedule. So it's always worth contacting Mia and see if you can book in with me. But otherwise, I would definitely recommend booking a session with one of our other trainers if the only time you can train with is in the afternoon or evening. Again, I know it's hard in the personal training industry because you get so used to working with your coach or your trainer. But I can promise you that by working with one of our other coaches or trainers, you'll get the same service. It's not like I'm sending you off to somebody that is completely new to the industry and has no idea what they're doing. In the case of, say, Charlene or Cindy, they know my workouts. They've been working with me for many years, so they know exactly. If I send them a protocol and I say, okay, John's workout, I need chest and back. These are his weights. This is the program that we're following right now. They will follow it to a T and they will add on as they see fit. So that's the one thing I always believe is that, whoever I send you to is going to be able to customize that workout specifically for you. Okay. And that's the hard thing with the personal training industry, or any industry where you're selling your service. That goes for an RMT or physiotherapist. Your clients want to work with you. But in order for myself to be able to grow my business, I need to expand, and I can't be on the floor 12 hours a day. That the business won't grow that way, right? So that's why I've taken back my hours on the floor. And as I said, you can still catch me on the floor from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., 7 days a week. I'm still on the gym floor working with clients, but past 1 p.m., I no longer work with anyone on the floor. I work with a lot of clients online, and that's when I do a lot of my online training from 1 p.m. to about 6 or 7 p.m. at night. And then I put out our social media content as well. So unfortunately, I will not be returning to the floor after 1 p.m. in the foreseeable future. But if you do want to work with me, you can always contact Mia at foreverfitperformance.com. And you can tell her that you are looking to work with me either privately, or you can work with me in a group class from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday to Sundays. Okay, 7 days a week. All right, next question. Question number 4. Hi, Nick. In your opinion, what are the best shoes for squatting? The best shoes for squatting are no shoes at all. And I've talked about this before. I don't care how expensive or how fancy the shoes that you buy for the gym are. I know there's a lot of shoes out there. In my opinion, the only way to get the optimal results from squatting will be to squat shoeless. And the reason for that is you can push through your calcaneus, which is your heel, through the floor, activate your hamstring, activate your glute, and then activate your quadricep. One of the things I always tell my clients is when they're squatting, I say, forget about your quads. Your quads are going to contract. You don't have to focus on creating a mind to muscle connection with your quads. But when you're squatting, when you're doing a barbell back squat, you have to really focus on creating that mind to muscle connection with your glutes and your hamstrings. And that's a lot harder than a lot of people think. It's difficult to create that mind to muscle with muscles that you can't see in the back. So it's really difficult to create that mind to muscle connection. And when we're talking the hamstrings and glutes, you can't see those muscles. If you're squatting in the mirror, you can see your quadriceps. They're in front of you. You can see them. But to create that mind to muscle connection in the back where you say, okay, I'm going to drive through the heel, which is my calcaneus, through the floor, drive up through my hamstrings, push up through my glutes. And as I squat, shoulders back, chest up, all my weight goes back. And all of a sudden, I'm actually feeling the squat more in my glutes and hamstrings and also my quadriceps. And that takes a long time for a lot of people to perfect. It took me years to perfect my squat and a lot of trial and error. But I find what works for most people is when they take their shoes off completely, no shoes at all, just squat in their socks. It works perfectly. A lot of people, when I have them do that, they're like, wow, I really feel that. The next day, especially, they're like, wow, I really feel my butt. I really feel my hamstrings. I'm like, right. Obviously they feel their quads, they squatted, but they feel areas of their lower body that they never felt before. So if you're going to squat, I would recommend squatting barefoot. And if you're at a commercial gym and you're going to do, say, hack squats and leg press, for example, on the leg press machine, the hack squat machine, I'd also recommend doing that barefoot. Because again, you're going to be able to drive through your calcaneus, which is going to be able to activate that gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and gluteus medius, and your hamstrings. So try that out. And I guarantee you, if you're doing that for a few weeks, you're going to notice a huge difference in your glutes and your hamstrings. Because when I watch people squat with their shoes, the one thing I notice is they usually lean forward a little bit. They're using more lower back. They're activating their quads, but they're not really driving with their glutes and their hamstrings. They're not activating those muscle groups properly. So if you want to engage those muscle groups properly, I'd recommend taking your shoes off. Try squatting shoeless for a few weeks, not just for one session, but a few weeks. It might take some time getting used to, but I promise you, if you do that, you're going to see results, and you're also going to feel it more. You probably feel more stable too when you're squatting, because you can really plant your feet into the ground. Try that and see how it works. All right. Next question. Nick, why do you hate on people who use their phones while resting in between sets? I just saw one of your recent posts in your IG stories about this. Yeah. In my opinion, phones have no place in the gym whatsoever. I find them a distraction. Maybe I'm too old school, but even when I work out to this day, there's at no point I will ever bring out my phone. There's been times where I'll record an exercise for my personal training platform, but that's for business purposes. I don't put it up to see how many likes I get on Instagram or how many views I get in my Instagram stories. I could care less. I'm putting the exercise purely up just so people on the training platform can see. I might add it onto my Instagram as well, so people can actually see how to do an exercise correctly. But I find phones to be a distraction in the gym. And, when people in the past, when I worked out at commercial gyms, this is why I don't work out at commercial gyms anymore, because every time I'd work out at a commercial gym, say I'd want to use a squat rack, and I'd go up and I would see somebody in there and they'd be standing there on their phone, texting or cruising Instagram or on Twitter or checking out CNN, whatever they're doing. And I look at them, I'm like, well, how many sets do you have left on your phone? And they look at me like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what are you doing here? Are you exercising or are you playing on your phone? And, the common response I get from a lot of people is, well, don't you rest between sets? I said, well, of course I rest between sets, but when I rest between sets, I'm resting. I'm not looking at my phone and cruising through Instagram, because a rest period for me is about 45 seconds to a minute tops. If you're cruising Instagram and you're on your phone, you're looking at your phone and you're updating your Facebook status, you're taking a selfie, that 45 seconds to a minute can easily turn into 3, 4, 5 minutes. So that's why I don't like phones in the gym. I find phones to be a distraction. I have no problem with someone if they're changing their Spotify playlist or something, that takes about 10, 15 seconds, no problem. But again, if you're on your phone and you're cruising the gram in between sets, you're not training seriously. And in my opinion, at that pace, it's just like, get the fuck out of the gym. What are you doing in the gym? Sorry for my language, but it's more of an annoyance. I've been working out for 20 plus years. Whenever I work out, I don't answer any text messages. I don't answer any phone calls. Emails can wait. That's my 1 hour to work out. I zone in on my workout. I'm focusing. It's 1 hour out of the day. My emails can wait. My text messages can wait. Anything that's going on with my business can wait. Okay. My business is not going to fall apart in that 1 hour that I'm training in the gym. Me not going on Instagram for 1 hour, I'm not going to miss anything important. So I can really focus, zone in on my workout. So that's why I don't like phones in the gym. And, I sound like a grumpy old man when I talk about this, but it drives me insane. And luckily for me, I work at a private facility now, private training facility. None of my clients go on their phone throughout the workouts. And if they do, they excuse themselves, they go off floor if they have to take a quick phone call, that's fine. But they're in between sets, they're not cruising Instagram, they're not taking selfies. That doesn't happen. So if you want to get the best results, you can't have those distractions. They don't offer any use. And I've always said this too. If I didn't work in the fitness industry, there's no way I'd be filming my workouts. I wouldn't be doing it. But because of my business, that's why I film the exercises, I film the workouts. But if I'm just doing it because I'm working out and I want to get validation from others, absolutely not. I would never film anything. So I find phones to be a distraction. And if you want to get optimal results, in my opinion, leave your phones in your pocket. Keep your music on. Don't take your phone out to look what's going on, answer text messages or phone calls. Wait till your workout's done. What is a workout? 45 minutes to 60 minutes tops. You can go without your phone for that long. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. Are you stressed about losing business with the combination of inflation and COVID-19? I was asked a question similar to this at the beginning of COVID-19, if I was worried about losing my business. And my response was, of course, I'm worried about losing my business. Any small business owner or any large business would be worried about losing business during a global pandemic. And now to add inflation on top of that, but to be completely honest, I'm not really concerned about losing my business. And I'll tell you why, is because I really truly believe in the product that we offer to our clients. I used to believe what we were offering to people was a luxury. And now I believe what we offer to people is a necessity. We give people a place where they can go, they can train, they can work on their health, they can work on their fitness, and they can do it in a way where they don't have to worry about having to wait for a squat rack or having to wrestle for a machine or having to deal with a bunch of people in one location. They can work out of the private training facility. So we're offering something that has now become a necessity rather than a luxury. And another thing is, most of the clients that we work with, as far as their businesses go, they've done quite well over the years. So when inflation happens or interest rates rise, it doesn't really impact them that much. So to answer that question, I'm not really concerned about losing my business because of the recent surge of inflation or because of what was going on in the war or because of COVID-19. At the beginning of COVID-19, yeah, I was, because I didn't really know how this was going to play out. But as I mentioned before on previous Q&As, our business actually did better during COVID-19 because we were able to stay open, whereas most gyms had to close, especially commercial gyms. So we received a whole new influx of clients that came into our gym, and they've actually stayed with us as restrictions have lessened or have lifted, and they can go back to the commercial gyms, but they don't want to go back to commercial gyms anymore. So that's happened. It's been kind of a benefit for us. A lot of people still don't want to go back to commercial gyms. So they've been training with us at our private facility. They know numbers are low. We can maintain numbers low on the floor. And so they love training with us. So I've been very grateful for that. Obviously, I'm very fortunate. So to say I'm worried about losing my business during this global pandemic now, I would say I'm not. No, I really believe in the product that we are offering to people. And my stance on personal training, online training, coaching, I no longer view it as a luxury. I now view it as a necessity. So yeah, as far as losing my business during the global pandemic, COVID-19, inflation, I'm not too concerned. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. My elbow really hurts when I train arms, primarily when I train triceps. Is there anything I can do to help fix the injury? So you might have tennis elbow, you might have golfer's elbow. You might have maybe a little bit of arthritis. It's really hard to diagnose what the issue is without meeting you in person. But regardless of what the issue is, what I always found, especially when training my arms, sometimes, especially as I'm older now, I'm in my late 30s, I notice the joints take a little longer to warm up. And that's just not just from my elbows. If I'm training legs, for example, my knees take a little longer to warm up as well now. They used to warm up a lot quicker when I was in my 20s. And I believe that it's because as we age, our body doesn't create as much synovial fluid, which is like a lubrication for your joints. So what I find works when I'm training arms with most people, I don't start them, let's say you're doing triceps. I never start anyone with a straight bar press down. I usually start them with either a rope extension to the front or a rope extension overhead. And I find what that does is that the rope extension, most people know when they're doing triceps, you can't lift as much weight when you're using a rope attachment to the cable as opposed to a bar attachment to the cable. So the lower weight's going to help. High reps, again, I usually have most of my clients when they train arms go up to 20 reps for their first set, just to warm up. And I'm giving them about 40% of the weight they lift. But I'll usually, for triceps in this case, I'll give them the rope extensions either overhead or to the front. And like as I said, that's going to release some synovial fluid into the joint. Once that synovial fluid is released into the joint, it's like a lubricant for the joint, as I mentioned, and that's almost like WD-40, right? Yeah, the WD-40 is for on a door that's a creaky door or something, and it's going to get that door greased up and allow the door to close without creaking. Same thing with your joints. So you want that synovial fluid flowing through your joints. And I find when you're doing exercises like rope extensions to warm up, even some light dumbbell kickbacks for your triceps, that works well too. And then you can get into the straight bar press downs, and then you can get into the easy bar skull crushers, that stuff afterwards. So you want to make sure you warm up your joints, just like you would warm up your muscle bellies, but you want to warm up your joints. And so if you're having issues with your elbows, I'd recommend, especially if you're doing triceps, Warm up first with some tricep rope extensions. Do 4 to 5 sets of those. If they're still not warmed up, do 4 or 5 sets to the front and do maybe 4 or 5 sets overhead extensions. If you're not too sure how to do those exercises, you can always go over to my Instagram. I have tons of videos of myself performing those exercises, so you can watch them and see how they're done. You can also join our online app, and you'll see I have a whole workout video designed specifically for triceps, how to hit pinpoint that muscle group and how to warm up the triceps specifically. If your elbows are still giving you some issues, you could also purchase an elbow brace. You could purchase a good one on Amazon, Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs. Just make sure it fits well. You don't want something that's loose. In my opinion, always go down a size. So rather than go extra large, maybe go large. Rather than go large, go medium, because you want something that fits and it's going to secure the joint. But that's a pretty common issue, especially as you get older. So warm up properly, do those high repetitions. And as I said, if you're doing triceps, I would start for rope extension first and keep the reps high. See how that works for you. If it's still pain, then I would switch over and add an elbow brace to the area. Okay, but that should help fix the issue. If it doesn't, at that point, I'd recommend going to see a physiotherapist. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. What's the best exercise for building a better butt? I know everyone's going to expect me to say squats. I do think barbell back squats build a great butt for sure. I do think that barbell squats are a essential exercise to add to your lower body routine. Absolutely. If you're not squatting with a barbell, and I'm not talking a Smith machine, I'm saying old school barbell squats, that's an essential. But when it comes to building a better butt, there's a few exercises that I would add on top of that. One would obviously be hip thrusts. I think the hip thrusts are an excellent exercise for building up the glutes. And I'm not talking again about a machine hip thrust. I'm talking old school barbell hip thrust. And if you're a woman looking to build up your butt, you have to go heavy on this exercise. You cannot go light. You have to go heavy. You have to get those 12 to 15 reps. That's what's going to build that foundation. It's going to build up those glutes. Okay. Another exercise, and I know a lot of people won't be shocked to hear this, but walking lunges. I'm a firm believer that walking lunges really help build up the glutes. I know people think that's a quad dominant exercise, and it is. But if you're doing them properly and you're engaging that muscle belly in the back and you're activating that glute by pushing through your calcaneus again, through your heel, you're going to really feel those. And don't forget, if you're just doing alternating lunges, one leg to the other, you're walking, you're missing out on a whole bunch of different types of lunges that you can do. You could be doing drag lunges to the left, drag lunges to the right, double contraction lunges, spider lunges, static contraction lunges. Again, these are all exercises that you can find on my Instagram. But there's all different types of lunges that you can do. You can do reverse barbell lunges. You can do elevation lunges, depression lunges. So the reason I have a lot of my clients, especially my female clients, do tons of lunges is because as much as that builds up the quadriceps, it also helps build up the gluteus maximus and gluteus minimus. So a lot of people don't believe that at first. Like, no, I don't feel that in my glutes. Maybe not at first you don't, but the next day you will, I promise you, especially if you're activating that muscle properly by driving through your calcaneus. So I would add in some hip thrusts, a heavy barbell hip thrust, that movement. And I would definitely add in some walking lunges and do all those types of lunges that I talked about that you can find on the online training platform or my Instagram. Okay. That will help. But, and also barbell back squats. Okay. And as I said, that to me is essential. Stay away from machines, guys. Machines they're fun to use. And I'm not saying machines aren't good, but free weights will always be better than machines. So if you can, stick to free weights as much as you possibly can, and you will get optimal results. Save the machines. If you're working at a commercial gym and you want to do some leg press or hack squats, save it for the end of the workout, but do all your free weight stuff first. And I promise you, you're going to get better results with your legs. I didn't start to notice, especially when I was competing in bodybuilding, I actually started to notice striations in my glutes when I started to do more lunges. So I contribute the striations, the striations that I received in my glutes, all to the lunges I was doing. So add in some lunges, lots of lunges, and add in some hip thrusts and watch, and you'll see the results in your glutes. Okay, next question. Okay. Hi, Nick. My cholesterol levels are high and my doctor tells me I need to take eggs out of my diet. Is he right? No, he is wrong. I've heard this for years. General practitioners telling their clients when their cholesterol levels are too high, they have to eliminate foods like eggs. Now, if you're consuming omega-3 eggs, which you should be consuming, there's no reason to take those out of your diet. If anything, omega-3 eggs are actually going to help lower your LDL levels. So that's actually a good thing. You want that. You want to keep them in your diet. Now, if you're consuming like the cheaper version of the eggs that you can buy at 7-Eleven or any eggs that's not omega-3 eggs, I would definitely recommend just switching over to omega-3 eggs because they're actually really good for your HDL levels. Now, the thing with cholesterol levels, that's a funny thing too, because I have a few clients that follow excellent diets. Their diets are perfect, but their cholesterol levels are high, and then they have to go on a medication like Lipitor, for example. Unfortunately for them, luck of the draw, that's just their genetics. And usually when I talk to those clients, they'll tell me, oh, my father or my mother had, cholesterol issues when I was growing up, and he or she had to be on medication as well. So that's usually a genetic issue in that case. Now, if you have high cholesterol levels because your diet is shit, eggs would be the last thing I would be taking out. I'd be looking at your diet and say, okay, where can I make changes? Are you having a lot of fried foods? Are you having a lot of greasy foods? Are you having a lot of foods that contain a lot of saturated fats? But I can promise you this, that if you're consuming omega-3 eggs, they are not the reason why your cholesterol levels are high. I promise you. Okay. Now, if you're consuming like I said, the cheaper version, like not omega-3 eggs, just like regular eggs that you can get at 7-Eleven or even at your regular grocery store that are not omega-3 that are usually about $3 or $4 less, those can actually increase your LDL levels. So I would not recommend consuming those types of eggs. But to hear a doctor in this day still saying, oh, it's the eggs, that to me is someone who has a very old school train of thought and doesn't know anything about dietary nutrition. Because omega-3 eggs are actually really good for your heart. Okay, and they're really good for your cholesterol levels. I'm not saying consume 12 eggs a day, but if you're consuming 2 or 3 omega-3 eggs a day, it will have zero impact on your cholesterol levels. If anything, it'll actually help decrease your LDL levels, increase your HDL levels. It's a good thing. That's what we want. Okay, so I would. Again, I'm not saying that your doctor is wrong on everything, but when it comes to this particular piece of advice, I would not recommend taking that advice. I would look at your diet as a whole. And if your cholesterol levels cannot be brought back down through diet alone, at that point, I'd recommend going on a cholesterol medication, something like Lipitor. What I usually tell my clients when their cholesterol levels are a little bit high and they don't want to go on the drugs right away, I say, okay, well, let's try through diet for the next 6 months, go get your blood work done, and let's see. If we can bring those levels down naturally, great. But if we can't, then you might want to consider going on that medication, okay? You have to think long-term. And going on something like Lipitor is not that bad. I mean, it's very easy on the liver. You take it, once a day. A lot of people usually take it at the end of the day in the evening. So it's nothing crazy bad on your body. But I know a lot of people are against taking medications. So if you want to do it the natural way through diet and training and supplementation, you can try that first. But I would be looking at, as I mentioned before, greasy fried foods and saturated fat before taking out the eggs. All right. Okay, next question. Hey, Nick, if you could only take 3 supplements, what would they be and why? I don't really take supplements. I guess the only supplement that I'm taking, I don't know if you could classify it as a supplement, would be whey isolate protein powder. I take vitamins, I take minerals, but I don't really take supplements. And I don't think of vitamins and minerals as supplements. I know a lot of people might group them into the supplement family, but I don't. They're vitamins and minerals. So if I were to take one supplement, that would be the whey isolate protein powder. It's just an easy way to get in extra protein, and it's easy on the digestive tract. But let me ask that question as far as vitamins and minerals go. And if I were to only take 3 of those, and I don't really take much more than 3 anyway, they'd be the vitamin C, vitamin D, and omega-3s. Vitamin C, I know there's a lot of doctors out there that will disagree with this, but I'm a firm believer that vitamin C helps keep our immune system strong and healthy. I've throughout this entire pandemic, I ended up getting COVID back when our gym was forced to close over that 3-week span. And I can tell you, when I had COVID, I felt fine. I was still training every day. I was going to my gym. Obviously, the gym was closed, so I could still go to my gym and work out. Luckily, I got it when our gym was closed. And I quarantined for 5 days, but I still went to my gym to work out. And I would go there usually early in the morning, about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. when nobody was on the streets. And I would just go work out for an hour and I'd leave. And the gym was empty. Nobody was in there. And I felt fine. I didn't feel sick at all. The only reason I took the COVID test is because I lost my taste. That was it. But I wasn't bedridden and I felt really good. And I'm not saying vitamin C is the reason why I felt that. I think, I had my 2 vaccination shots at the time. I think that helped a lot too. And I have a strong immune system. I mean, I work out, I exercise, I follow a clean diet. So that obviously helps too. But I wasn't bedridden at all. I felt completely fine. I felt maybe a little run down for 1 or 2 days, and that was fine. And after 5 days, I felt great. No problem whatsoever. So I'm a firm believer in using vitamin C daily, not just when you start to feel sick, daily, year round. And I'll usually supplement that at about 2,000 milligrams per day. Vitamin D, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. We don't really get much sun here. I mean, we live in a rainforest. So I'm a firm believer in adding vitamin D for energy levels, for mood. I have lots of energy throughout the day. I don't have that crash period where a lot of people at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. they start to crash. I feel great throughout the day. I wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. I have lots of energy. It goes right through till about 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. I feel great. And I attribute that to the vitamin D. So vitamin D, I usually take about anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 IU per day. That might sound like a lot, but it's really not, because you have to remember an IU is just one of those little tiny gel caps. So it's not very much at all. And my third supplement, which I don't classify as a supplement, but a vitamin, would be omega-3s. And the reason I take omega-3s is because I don't feel that we get enough healthy fats in our diets. Even myself, I consume a lot of fats, but I don't feel like I get enough omega-3 fats. So that's why I consume omega-3s. And I don't say that's essential for everybody, but when it comes to omega-3s, I'll consume about 2,000 milligrams of that as well. So those are the 3 vitamins that I take, and I find they work really well for me. And I do notice, and I don't know if it's placebo, but I do notice if I'm not taking one of those for about 2 or 3 weeks, I start to notice a decreased energy, or I might get a little bit run down. So I just keep them in my system. Now, it's up to you if you feel that you want to put those in your system. It's not mandatory. I work with a lot of people that don't use those vitamins at all. But if you're asking me the 3 that I would keep in them, it'd be vitamin C, vitamin D, omega-3s. And as far as a supplement, the only supplement that I consume right now is a whey isolate protein powder. I don't consume any other supplements. Okay. Last question. Nick, what year do you think you had the best physique on stage? I was looking at your contest prep photos you posted the other day and thought 2018 was your best look, in my opinion. Yeah. I posted a few of my contest prep photos from 2010 up until 2019 over the years, and I had different looks each year. Pretty much, I always tried to bring a different look to the stage because I wanted to see what look got me the best results and the best placing. 2018, I posted that photo. What was interesting about 2018 is I took an entire year off before I competed in 2018. So 2017, I did 1 show in the summer, and then I didn't compete for an entire year. And I competed 2018 in the fall. And that was the longest I ever took off from stage. So I think my body was well rested. And that's why I looked my best. That show was really, actually, I did a few shows that year, but when I first started, I did a string of, I think, 3 or 4 shows in 2018. And my placings weren't bad. I placed first place in a few shows, and I placed second place in a few shows. I think I stayed in that top 3 for most of those shows. But I think the reason I looked fairly good in 2018 was my body was well rested. I took some time off from training. I fed my body. I gave my body just the nutrients it needed, and that really made a big difference. I remember back in 2000, I think it was 13 till 16, I think I did probably about, I want to say 15 or 16 shows, and my body was run down, and you could see it in my photos. Everything just looked stringy. I was lean, but my muscles weren't popping, and my body was just tired. So going into 2018, I was able to take that year off of rest, and it really helped. I was able to have a full off season. I could grow. So that made a big difference. But if you were asking what my favorite look was, I think 2018, I agree with you. 2018 was a pretty good look, but I'd have to go back to 2010. And I think that was one of my best looks. And I say 2010 because I was really lean. I felt like garbage. And I always tell my clients who compete with me on stage, if you feel like garbage, you're going to do well. I dieted really hard for that show. I was super ripped. And I remember I placed first place in a really competitive class. So if I could look at all my photos, I actually think 2010 was probably my best look. Funny enough, that was actually my lightest as well. I was about 174 pounds on stage. And I think in 2018, I was about 194 pounds. So it was, about 20-pound difference. But I still think 2010 was my best look. I was just lean. I had striations in my glutes. I had striations in my quads. Everything looked perfect. And I did about 2 or 3 shows in 2010, and I was able to maintain that weight. I felt like complete garbage though. But yeah, I do think that was probably my best year. And I attribute that again. I took 2009 off. So I took a good year off. I gave my body the rest it needed. And I trained smart that year. I went all in. I remember in 2010, I really wanted to make a name for myself in the sport. I won my class. I didn't win the overalls. The guy who won the overalls, God, he was about 200 and I think about 40 or 50 pounds. So he had about 70 pounds of muscle on me. But yeah, out of all the shows I'm just thinking back over the years, I would say 2000, in my opinion, 2010 was probably my best look. But I would give 2018 a close second. And then the other years, there were some years I was on, some years I was off. I remember I looked at 2012, I was completely off. That's the thing about bodybuilding is it's hard to nail your conditioning every time you get on stage. But the more that you do it, it's easier to learn your body. And that's why I always tell clients who start working with me, it's going to take me some time to learn your body. So the first time I do a show with a client, I'll learn what works for that person. I'll say, okay, well, we might not need to start carving you up on Wednesday as opposed to Friday morning or Thursday evening. It really depends on the individual you're working with, man, woman. But it's just learning the person's body because everyone's body responds differently. Okay. But yeah, so to answer that question, I would say 2010 was probably my best look. 2018, I'd say it was a close second. There were a few years where I was really off, 2012 and 13 being one of them, really off, like just did not look good. I think I placed, the lowest I ever placed was the 4th place. And I think that was in 2013 at one of the shows. And I would say that was a gift. If I looked at that show and I looked at the contest photos, I saw myself probably in 6th or 7th place. So the fact that I got 4th place in one of those shows, that was a gift. And there were some shows that I felt that I was screwed over. And I had people in the audience who also felt that. There were a few second places that I felt I should have won. But you know what? If you want to be a good sportsman, and it's all about camaraderie, and you want to, it's not the person that you're against, that you're competing against. It's not his fault or her fault that you place second, they place first. The judges are placing you where you place. So you can't be a bad sportsman. I never was a bad sportsman on stage. I always took my trophy. I always thanked the judges for judging me. I always shook the hand of my competitors. And that's the best way you can be as an athlete. You always want to represent yourself in the best way possible. And yeah, you win some, you lose some, but 2010, that's my year. If I can get back to that, mind you, that was 12 years ago. So I don't know if I can get my old body back to that now, but that would be the look I'd aim. If I were to go back on stage again, that would definitely be the look that I would look for. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Q&A. This episode should be going up on Thursday evening. Remember, if you have any questions to diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. You can also send them to me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. And as a reminder, our online app is available as well for all my supplement protocols, my nutritional plans, my training programs that I've designed over the past 15 plus years, as well as a weekly Q&A, a weekly training program, and a weekly nutritional plan that is uploaded every week on the online app. If you have any questions related to that, please feel free to email mia@foreverfitperformance.com. Anyway, guys, thanks for now. Have a great weekend. Have a nice evening, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.